Today, I'm going over the section in chapter 11 called The Gifts of Fatherhood. You have learned your need of healing. Would you bring anything else to the sonship, recognizing your need of healing for yourself? For in this lies the beginning of the return to knowledge, the foundation on which God will help build again the thought system you share with Him. Not one stone you place upon it, but will be blessed by Him. For you will be restoring the holy dwelling place of His Son, where He wills His Son to be and where He is. In whatever part of the mind of God's Son you restore this reality, you restore it to yourself. You dwell in the mind of God with your brother, for God Himself did not will to be alone. So this first paragraph is lots of beautiful words to explain to us that we are all one, and that when we see another as that spark of God, that spark of light, that is how we will see ourselves. And this is the healing that we need, that we all need, because we share one mind. And He's reminding us that God Himself did not will to be alone. And we are not alone. We are only dreaming that we are alone. We are actually one. To be alone is to be separated from infinity. But how can this be if infinity has no end? No one can be beyond the limitless, because what has no limits must be everywhere. There are no beginnings and no endings in God, whose universe is Himself. Can you exclude yourself from the universe or from God, who is the universe? No, we can't. We can try. We can hide all we want, but no, we cannot. I and my Father are one with you, for you are part of us. Do you really believe that part of God can be missing or lost to Him? So more fancy, beautiful words to remind us what a silly idea we have that we are separate and alone, and that we are actually all one, and that we are eternal. And when Jesus says there are no beginnings and no endings in God, whose universe is Himself, He's talking about this eternal extension of love that God is and that we are. That is the universe. That is the totality of who and what we are. Beingness, extending love eternally. If you were not part of God, His will would not be unified. Is this conceivable? No, He's trying to point out it's not possible. Nothing can be separate. Nothing can actually destroy heaven, which is the state of oneness. That we are a part of God, and no matter how hard we try to deny it, it's never going to go away. That's why it is inconceivable. Can part of His mind contain nothing? No, right? Because the ego is nothing. The mind of ego is nothing. The belief of ego is nothing. But His mind, meaning the mind of God, could not possibly contain nothing. God does not contain the ego. The ego is not a part of God. It was made up by us, by our false beliefs. If your place in His mind cannot be filled by anyone except you, and your filling it was your creation, without you, there would be an empty place in God's mind. All right, so again, this is metaphor. It's not possible for us to not be in God's mind. It's not possible for us to be missing. None of that is really happening. None of it could ever really happen, but it is what we are perceiving. So we are misperceiving our truth, which is why Jesus is trying to explain to us here what our truth really is and how silly and inconceivable our ego beliefs are. Extension cannot be blocked, and it has no voids. Okay, so that's us. We extend love eternally. That extension of love cannot be blocked, and there are no voids in it. It continues forever, however much it is denied. Right? So no matter how much we try to deny our truth and block it out, it doesn't matter. That extension of love still always continues eternally. Your denial of its reality may arrest it in time, but not in eternity. Okay, so because we deny it with our ego belief system, this eternal extension of love, because we deny it, it may appear that we are arresting it in time, meaning slowing everything down because we're blocking it and not seeing the truth. We can do that. We can pretend and we can bury our head in the sand and we can block things out and do everything we can to not see the truth. But nothing changes in eternity. Nothing changes in our truth. It is still always there, even if we choose not to see it. That is why your creations have not ceased to be extended, and why so much is waiting for your return. So this eternal extension of love is just waiting for us to perceive it, to return to it, to know it. And when will we know it? When we have awakened from the dream. In the meantime, we just need to keep perceiving correctly. That's how we do it while we think we're in this illusory world. We keep perceiving spirit everywhere, in everything, all the time, knowing that the world of form is not real, overlooking the world of form, the ego's false belief system, to see what is true, to see the light, to see that spark in everyone and everything out there. That is what helps our mind return to its truth. And eventually, we will return to this eternal extension of love, where we already are. We're just misperceiving. And so that's why so much is waiting for us on our return. Waiting is possible only in time, but time has no meaning, right? Time doesn't even exist. So we're just pretending that we're spending time denying our truth. We're just pretending that we're doing it. That's why he's saying waiting is only possible in time. Waiting is only possible within the illusion because it's not even real. You who made delay can leave time behind simply by recognizing that neither beginnings nor endings were created by the eternal. Fancy words to mean that time doesn't exist. That was not created by God, who placed no limits on his creation or upon those who create like him. So he's reminding us that God did not place any limits on us. We are his creations that are like him, right? Because God created us to be just like him. The only difference between us and God is that God is the parent and we are the child. Other than that, we have all the same creation abilities, which means the extension of love. You do not know this simply because you have tried to limit what he created, and so you believe that all creation is limited. Those are our false ego beliefs. How then could you know your creations having denied infinity? And when we deny that truth and choose not to see it, then we have been denying our creations. Our creations is that extension of love. The laws of the universe do not permit contradiction, right? Remember, ego and spirit are irreconcilable. What holds for God holds for you, meaning God's truth is our truth. If you believe you are absent from God, you will believe that he is absent from you. So if we believe the ego's thought system that we are separate and absent from God, then we're going to feel fear. We're going to believe that that's true. Infinity is meaningless without you, and you are meaningless without God. There is no end to God and his Son, for we are the universe. So when he's using the word universe, he doesn't mean of form, what we think of as the universe within this illusory dream. He's talking about the totality of who and what we are, and that is simply an extension of love. God is not incomplete, and he is not childless, because he did not will to be alone. He created a son like himself. That's us. Do not deny him his son, for your unwillingness to accept his fatherhood has denied you yours. See his creations as his son, for yours were created in honor of him. The universe of love does not stop because you do not see it, nor have your closed eyes lost the ability to see. Look upon the glory of his creation and you will learn what God has kept for you. More beautiful words to remind us that no matter how hard we try to block it out, our truth remains. God has given you a place in his mind that is yours forever. Yet you can keep it only by giving it. He's talking about practicing forgiveness as it was given you. So just as God knows that we are love and light, when we perceive that everyone and everything else is love and light, then we are sharing. These are our creations. This is our natural state of being. Could you be alone there when it was given you because God did not will to be alone? No, right? It's not possible. God's mind cannot be lessened. It can only be increased, for everything he creates has the function of creating. So God's love can never be lessened. Nothing ever can be taken away. All God ever does is extend love. That's why it can be increased, because it just keeps going and going and going. And that's our job too, as the child of God, as a being that is the same as God, to keep extending this love, to keep increasing it by sharing it. That's our creation. Love does not limit, and what it creates is not limited. To give without limit is God's will for you, because only this can bring you the joy that is his, and that he wills to share with you. Your love is as boundless as his, because it is his. Again, we are the same as God. We extend love just like God. That is our true nature. Could any part of God be without his love? And could any part of his love be contained? God is your heritage because his one gift is himself. How can you give except like him if you would know his gift to you? Give then without limit and without end to learn how much he has given you. He's encouraging us to practice forgiveness, to see the love and light in everyone and everything everywhere. Your ability to accept him depends on your willingness to give as he gives. So again, as we see others, we will see ourselves. Your fatherhood and your Father are one. God wills to create, and your will is his. It follows then that you will to create, since your will follows from his. And being an extension of his will, yours must be the same. So he's reminding us that we are the same as God, and our true desire, what makes our heart feel full, what makes us feel joy, is extending love. Not the world's version of special love, of what it's supposed to look like, or you're just loving certain people. That's not at all what he's talking about. It's not body to body, ego to ego, personality to personality. That's not at all what he's talking about. He's talking about spirit love, true love that extends eternally. Yet what you will, you do not know. This is not strange when you realize that to deny is to not know. So when we are believing the ego's perception, we are not knowing our truth. God's will is that you are his son. By denying this, you deny your own will, and therefore do not know what it is. You must ask what God's will is in everything because it is yours. You do not know what it is, but the Holy Spirit remembers it for you. Why do we not know what it is? Because we have forgotten, because we are lost in the darkness of ego's perception. But the light that is here to save us is the memory of God within our dream, which is Holy Spirit. It's the higher aspect of our mind that remembers our truth. And that aspect of our mind, Holy Spirit, is here to bring that light, to remind us of our truth. So if we begin to perceive that light, instead of falling into the darkness of the ego, instead of falling into fear, instead of falling into the trick of the illusion, stay focused, be vigilant only for God, which means stay focused on that little spark of light that is in everyone and everything, everywhere within the illusion. As we do that, we start to perceive our truth over and over and over again, and eventually we will know our truth because we will awaken from the dream. Ask him, therefore, what God's will is for you, and he will tell you yours. Okay, so this is when we're asking Holy Spirit where to go, what to do, what to say. right? We let Holy Spirit guide us within this dream. This is an avatar, this ego self that you think you are. Allow Holy Spirit to guide the avatar. So that's how we use Holy Spirit within the dream, as we're believing that we're ego bodies, to allow Holy Spirit to guide us. But at the same time, as we're doing that, as we're playing this pretend game, this virtual reality game of this illusion, and allowing Holy Spirit to guide us, on a deeper level, we are awakening so that the illusion just disappears eventually, because we kept identifying with the light. It cannot be too often repeated that you do not know it. It cannot be repeated too often that we are idiots and we have no idea what we're doing and we know nothing as long as we are believing the ego. So that's why this is funny. This is one of the many moments that Jesus is very funny and is roasting us when he's saying, it cannot be too often repeated that you do not know it. He cannot tell us enough that we have been lost in darkness and that we are wrong about what we are believing when we believe in the ego's perception. Whenever what the Holy Spirit tells you appears to be coercive, it is only because you have not recognized your will. So when we're trapped in the ego, we don't want Holy Spirit or God to be the boss. We want to be the boss, right? So that's this coercion that he's talking about. The whole reason that we're lost in this ego dream and wanting to identify with ego so badly is because we want to be in control. And then we feel coerced into giving up control and giving it to God or Spirit. But you see, we have it all backwards and wrong. That choice makes us miserable. But if we do give our power to the light and to Holy Spirit, then we will be learning our truth. And that's why he's saying it's only because you have not recognized your will. Our true will is to be in alignment with God. That's our true will. The projection of the ego makes it appear as if God's will is outside yourself and therefore not yours. In this interpretation, it seems possible for God's will and yours to conflict. You see, but that's not possible. That's a trick of the ego. God then may seem to demand of you what you do not want to give, and thus deprive you of what you want. Well, that's what the ego believes. That's the lie the ego tells us to keep us trapped in its delusion. Would God, who wants only your will, be capable of this? No. Your will is his life, which he has given to you. He gave us life. What is life? Not this world, not these bodies, not anything within the illusion. Life is the eternal extension of love. Even in time, you cannot live apart from him. Even in time means in this illusion, and even within the illusion, we cannot live apart from him, even if we are constantly blocking it out and denying it. That spark is still within us. We are still connected with God. Sleep is not death. What he created can sleep, but cannot die. Immortality is his will for his son, and his son's will for himself. God's son cannot will death for himself because his father is life. And his son is like him. Creation is your will because it is his. So sleep is not death. The sleep that he's referring to is us being lost in the illusion. That's sleep, being identified with the ego. And he's saying that's not death. Just because we are blocking out our truth doesn't mean we killed it, doesn't mean it went away. It's still there. The life of who and what we really are is still there, even if we are sleeping, meaning lost in illusion, having this dream of separation. And that's why he's telling us what he created cannot sleep, because God's life, God's love is eternal. And that's why he's telling us that immortality is his will for his son. That is our truth. We are immortal beings, just like God, extending love eternally. That's why he's telling us that God's son cannot will death. No matter how much we try to kill the life of God, this eternal extension of love, no matter how much we try to kill it, we can't. It's not possible. And that's why he's reminding us the creation is our will, just like God's. Because we are one with God. We share the same will as God, which is the extension of love. You cannot be happy unless you do what you will truly. And you cannot change this because it is immutable. It is immutable by God's will and yours, for otherwise his will would not be extended. You are afraid to know God's will because you believe it is not yours. This belief is your whole sickness and your whole fear. Every symptom of sickness and fear arises here because this is the belief that makes you want to not know. So believing in the ego, believing in separation is what causes the sickness and makes us want to run and hide and not know our truth because we are afraid. Believing this, you hide in darkness, denying that the light is in you. That's how we ended up here in this illusory dream because of that. You are asked to trust the Holy Spirit only because he speaks for you. He is the voice for God, but never forget that God did not will to be alone. He shares his will with you. He does not thrust it upon you. Okay? God is not going to force us to wake up and accept his love. God is not going to force us to identify truly with who and what we really are. But he's there always to share it with us as soon as we are willing. God gave us free will. So this course is designed to teach us how to use our free will to choose correctly. Because from the ego's perception, we know nothing about free will. We know nothing about the two choices. We're just believing in darkness and separation and fear. But when we know that we have a choice, when we know that we have free will, when we are perceiving correctly what our truth is, then we can awaken from this false dream. Always remember that what he gives, he keeps, so that nothing he gives can contradict him. What does he give and what does he keep? Love. You who share his life must share it to know it, for sharing is knowing. And by sharing, he means practicing forgiveness, which in the Course means overlooking the false world of form to use your spiritual sight to see correctly that everyone and everything is just love and light. Blessed are you who learn that to hear the will of your Father is to know your own. Because we share the same will as God, we do desire to extend love eternally. For it is your will to be like him, whose will it is that it be so. God's will is that his Son can be one and united with him in his oneness. That's heaven. That's what heaven is. It's a state of oneness. And even though Jesus is speaking here as if we're missing from that, as if God is wishing that we come back to that, again, that's metaphor. That's coming from our ego perception that we are separate and that somehow we're not there. The truth is that we're there right now. We are in heaven, being one with God and one another, extending love eternally. We are just not perceiving it. That is why healing is the beginning of the recognition that your will is his. So what are we healing? We're healing our split mind. We are healing our misperception of darkness, of separation, of fear. And how do we heal that? We heal that by recognizing our truth, which is God, which is love, which is light, which is a being extending love eternally.